Alright, quick update on DogelonMars, ticker symbol ELON. So, the past 2 days we've been on this massive parabolic run to the upside. We've started to come down a bit, we're still up 5% on the day, and in the past 24 hours, up 27%. Because of this move, Elon's been able to move up to the top 130. So, Elon is still, it is my favorite meme crane. It's one of my favorite altcoins just to hold for gains. I would like to highlight though, while I do hold this, while I do like it for the long term, and while I don't have any plans of selling my Elon at this moment in time, I still do think that we are in a macro downtrend. And I really don't think you can even argue that point. I mean, switch over to the weekly time frame, go over to the Heikonashis, the bounce isn't even visible, which is interesting because when you do look at Elon on the weekly time frame, you do see a lot of these bounces from time to time. Switch over to Heikonashis on the weekly and it smooths out things a lot. Nonetheless, still a very impressive run for the past couple of days. Let's see where we could potentially be getting topped out in the short term before we come down for one final capitulation, which is what I've been predicting for a while now. So looking at Elon, let's head over to the lower time frames to start with. You can really see a ton of volume stepped into this market structure, but at this moment in time, we're really not seeing a continuation of volume at this moment in time. So I do think the top is, at least the local top, is closer than closer than the downtrend, let's just say that. So what I do notice is if we do look at the daily time frame, many times we do this, we have these massive parabolic runs to the upside, 140% from this low, 105% from this low, 66%, and in the past couple of days we have run up 102%, so very impressive. This is pretty much in line with what we've previously done, and I would also like to highlight on the daily time frame, if we put a vertical line through a lot of these, actually wait, I won't do that because you won't be able to see the volume down here, but if we do look at these massive runs up, we do get these singular days where we get exponential volume coming in, and then the next day it's either less green volume coming in and you start the downtrend a couple of days after, or you just don't get any continuation and you start rolling off the hill from there. So one other thing I have noticed is when you do look at these massive pumps, let's go back to the start. So at least from this low, breaking all the way down, bouncing back up, you can see we got rejected from this double 236, 382 Fibonacci, came all the way down to the 786, and what did you do? You bounced up once, twice, 3 times. Where do we bounce up to? Basically exactly this this 0.5 Fibonacci rather. If I mark this a little bit thicker, mark it as the orange line, you can see right here we ran up to this fib 3 times before getting battered back down to the downside. Had a big breakdown, broke above, got rejected from 13 EMA and start to move lower. And from what I can tell, in my opinion, the past couple of days, or really the past month, we had another breakdown, had a massive run up, got rejected from this 786, and now we are currently in that final run before we do start heading back down. Now, I personally would hazard a guess and say that I do really not think that we would be getting above this 786 Fibonacci, which currently resides at 5370. You can see we've almost come up to it. We didn't quite make it up to there. Very impressively though, we did cross the 13 EMA. That is great. We have not back tested it though, so this will be interesting. If we can get continuation, we probably will be heading up to the 786 Fibonacci. This would be a further 43% move. I would really like to emphasize that I do think that we are basically towards the latter half of this parabolic run. Looking at the general markets right now, the dollar's still very bullish, the stock market's very bearish. Bitcoin, higher time frames, the downtrend has absolutely not subsided whatsoever. And, even if we look at the BTC USD chart, we are just getting riddled with lower highs all over the board. So, once again, I do not think that we are going to be heading up too much further for Elon. It is very impressive what we've done so far. I do like that we've moved up in the top 130. This kind of solidifies my opinion that when we do come into the next run, I do think Elon is going to be one of the best performing dog cranes. And I do look forward to buying the dip on this and buying it for cheap. For example, the last video we made, we had 2 price predictions. We had this one, which we hit on the head. This was a 32% drop. But from the top here, we were calling for, we've readjusted it since the last video, but we were talking about a 50% drop down to these previous lows, which I really don't think is too insane at this moment in time. From where we are, this would simply be a double back test. And very interestingly, I just realized from this last video as well, we also did hit both of the price targets because we did come down to this line. So it just shows you the power of TA. You know, we came exactly down to this line and boom, right back up to the upside. So as I do believe that Bitcoin still has another leg to the downside in the macro term, I mean, it's very evident that we are still slipping to the downside. I think it would make sense to assume that Elon would also have one last leg to the downside. Now, I really think this is a conservative price target round about the 162 region. This would be approximately, we're starting to push up a tiny bit, about another 57% drop from where we are. And you know, the market cap won't 100% correlate to this, but this should equals about a 50% slash in the market cap, equating this to be about 100 million, which in the economy that we're in right now, I still feel like that is a lot of money to have in a meme coin. Nonetheless, like I said, this is one of my favorites. This is my favorite meme coin, and this is one of my favorite altcoins that I do plan on heavily buying the dip on when we do enter that next run. But, you know, like I said, higher time frames, our squeeze momentum indicators still dragging to the downside. Weekly time frames, tons of bearish volume. It is almost predominantly bears since the top all the way back here. And also looking at your MACD, weekly MACD is still massively getting pinged to the downside. Now this is a different image over on the daily time frame. And mainly that is because this works on momentum, and obviously I feel like these lower time frame momentum indicators don't necessarily work as well when you are dealing with something like Elon, which is subject to massive swings in volatility because of its low market cap. But this is one of the reasons why I like it, because it is a degenerative meme coin, and when it is going to have these macro swings back to the upside, they are going to be huge swings, which is what we've already witnessed. But once again, just giving you a warning, in my opinion, you know, if we are going to come up and have a top, it is probably going to be at this 5316. Would I be buying it now, hoping for that extra 42-45% push to the upside? Absolutely not. We've already had our 100% run to the upside, and subsequently I think now it would definitely make sense to start hedging my risk to the downside. So I am going to start taking a tiny bit of Elon off the table, because like I said, Elon is a fairly large holding for myself. But nonetheless, I do plan on heavily buying the dip once we do come down to these lower regions. I think after a 100% pump, letting some of it go, and then waiting for another further 55% drop or so is completely reasonable. Especially, like I said, with the way that Bitcoin is acting at this moment in time with this macro downtrend. So that's pretty much all I've got for Elon. Once again, I do not think we're going to get above 5.3. If we do run up to 5.3, I would really not be surprised, judging by the low market cap. It can easily swing up, but like I said, my macro bottoming price targets would be round about this region, 1606. I definitely wouldn't go all in at that region. I'd be keeping my eyes on Bitcoin specifically, because I think Bitcoin's coming down to 16,500, and I'd also keep my eye on how Elon is performing against Bitcoin, because, you know, if we remove the USD pair over on CoinMarketCap, we can see all-time high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and even with this run up, you know, this is another lower high. So, you know, it's very easy to get out of bed, it's very easy to use our emotions when we are looking at this. But looking at the market structure, nothing's changed. We've done this once, twice, 3 times, you know, 4 times, 5 times, and this is the 6th time we are having one of these massive legs to the upside. Once again, I don't dislike Elon. It is literally my favorite meme coin. I do just like to look at these charts objectively, and as far as I can tell, on the weekly time frame, Heikonashi's to smooth out the trend, we are still in that massive downtrend, and I would definitely be waiting for some more macro signals like the MACD and the squeeze mom to start heading bullish. As far as I can tell, the last 2 weeks, momentum has started to really step up on Elon. And remember, today's bullish price is the bearish price from 2 weeks ago. So we definitely need to take that with a grain of salt. That is all I've got for Elon. Once again, in my opinion, we're coming down to 1637. We hit the last 2 price targets on the head. I will update you when we do get closer to this, but once again, I definitely would advise against going all in at these lower levels. I really think it's good to wait for Bitcoin to come down and have that macro capitulation. Once Bitcoin capitulates to 16,500, I think that's going to be a great time to pick up some cheap altcoins. So keep your eyes on the top here, 5315. Wouldn't be surprised if we come up here, but once again, it's very risky to enter at this moment in time. That's all I've got for you today. As always, cowboy out. Peace.